Watchmen Chapter 2, the brand new DC anime film, and it's probably the last DC anime film under the old DC anime film animated thing, what you want to call it, that started way back in 2007 with Superman Doomsday, ends with Watchmen Chapter 2, which is not a bad one to end things off, because as I said with Chapter 1, for a lot of people, Watchmen is considered as the greatest graphic novel ever made, and is also kind of the Dune of superhero storytelling, definitely in the comic book realm. And I mean, here's the thing, like, when Chapter 1 came out, it was like, I don't know, 10, 15 years since I read the book. And anytime I feel like, watching anytime I want to experience the Watchmen story, I kind of just go and watch the Zack Snyder version, the live action film. I decided to buy the DC Compact version of Watchmen. I've reread it. And so this is the difference. I know where I reread it. So it's recent what happens in this book. It's recent. By the way, if you never read a DC comic before, look at DC Compact. They're meant to be opening for new readers. They're about about $10 to $20 a book. They're meant to be the answer to manga. It's DC answer to manga. Highly recommend it. I bought the Watchmen version and Wonder Woman Earth 1. The only complaint I have is that when it comes to Watchmen, that on the right side of the left page, sometimes the words are so close to the staple to the point it's hard to find the way it reads, but that's the only complaint. It's not that bad. So, and the recoloring is quite good, but apparently it's part of the recoloring of the Absolute. Anyway, and because comics are quite expensive, as I mentioned, the Absolute basically costs $120. If you bought it in trades or hardcover, it probably would cost you about $50. So, if you decide want to just read Watchmen, $20 versus $50, or $10 versus like $50. That's a good deal. That's a good deal, sirs and madams. That's pretty good. So, Watchmen Chapter 2. Let's recap Chapter 1, shall we? So, Chapter 1, Dr. Manhattan is exile. He has exiled himself from Earth onto Mars because it's being revealed that he gives people cancer by just standing next to them. Rorschach is in prison, being framed for murder that he didn't commit. Silk Spectre and Niall getting a little bit close and hinting towards a very sexual type of relationship that happens in Chapter 2. And there's an attempted assassination attempt towards Aramius. So, that's where we are. Now, Chapter 1 really wanted to focus, because Chapter 1 basically focused on the first 5 chapters out of the 12. And in the first 5 chapters, it's very Rorschach heavy. In the first 5 chapters, it's basically about a detective solving a crime, and it's a crime of war. And in Chapter 1, in the first half of this animated adaptation, that it basically wanted to follow the tone of a film noir. So it kind of has a slower pace, but sometimes it gets interrupted with the flashbacks and trying to flow with it, and all that. Chapter 2 is basically, let's focus on everyone else, and everyone else, it kind of gives a more faster pace. It has a more faster kind of anything towards it. But the criticism I have with it is it becomes a little bit too quick in the first 40 minutes. Like, the final 40 minutes, like, the first half is like, boom, 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 and you're thinking, slow down. But then, when we hit the second half, where reveals are happening, like, there's a scene where Silk Spectre is on Mars, I'm not going to tell you how, to Dr. Manhattan, well, I can't tell you how, but with Dr. Manhattan and convincing him, please come back to Earth. And it's a whole, like, there's humor in there, there's emotional arcs in there, and they take their time with that scene. Or scenes, because it's all about her remembering certain things. Now, and then the big evil plan. Who's the mastermind? Who kills the comedian? Who's starting to create World War Three? Why they want to start World War Three? All that kind of stuff. And who's setting a giant squid onto New York? Yeah, they're going that ending. I was kind of surprised. I won't lie. When the giant squid showed up, I was like, "This is new." I'm so used to like let's falsely accuse Dr. Manhattan for the whole thing. And say no, no, so did I. No, we're going for the comic route, and the comic route says a giant squid, and we're giving you a giant fucking squid. Which I'm like, okay. But the evil plan, and they take time with that, and the thing is about that is a kind of a mix of an action sequence with the villain telling their entire plan. Even though there's a line where that character says, "I'm not a comic book villain. I'm not going to tell my entire plan that will make you attract the interest of the outcome." Which kind of works in a comic book because it's like, well, technically you are a comic book villain because you're in a comic book. It's meant to be the meta aspect of things anyway. And same with and that. But in the first 40 minutes, we are like going through like love stories and like Rorschach's origin story and like teaming up and like a Wyatt, and it's so much in 40 minutes to the point you just like slow down. Like for me, the Rorschach origin story could have been like 10 minutes long. I think hell yeah, it was 10 minutes long. In this, it's like 3, maybe 2 minutes. And that, I first felt like, guys, this is, like, I get it. It's dark, it's bleak. Like, seeing, Rorschach becomes Rorschach because he walks into a house of a child murderer and predator, and he burns that guy alive. And that's how you realize how cruel and cruel the world is. Outside the other things of like his mom was a prostitute who didn't give a shit about him, and bullies who would tease him that his mother was a prostitute, and so he got so angry to the point he bites the cheek off the cheek off of a bully. Anyway, so but it just goes so fast, and you just like. Slow, let us marry in those moments. Let's marry in those situations. Even Laurie and Dan's, like at the beginning, felt like we were taking that time, but then their relationship felt like it felt like literally it felt like we were having 2 sex scenes in a span of 3 minutes with probably 5 minutes with a span with with the same characters, and it wasn't a montage. And by the way, I was surprised. I thought it was part of the movie. I thought it was like Zack Snyder's over him sort of like not subtlety. But the fire love thing apparently is from the comic. Because the fire love thing, when I see the live action movie, I laugh my ass off. You know why I laughed it off? Because in the comic, Silk Spectre just accidentally presses the fire button, while in the live action film it's hinting she just hit orgasm. That's the difference. That's the difference. But here's the thing about Watchmen. This is the second adaptation, and this is like the second like true. They ain't broke, don't fix it kind of treatment to Watchmen, which is great. But now we have 2 of them. I won't lie, I kind of itching. Look, the next time someone says I want to adapt Watchmen, I think it should be a TV show. Now, when I mean a TV show, I don't mean a sequel series like HBO did, but like a true, like the story of Watchmen. I truly think, like, I'm not one of these people who normally believes, like, if it isn't boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets back with girl, that it needs to be a TV show. Like, look, if you break down The Godfather, a lot of stuff happens in The Godfather. If you ascribe The Godfather to someone today, they would say that needs to be a TV show. That's too many things. You don't have time to flesh out everything out. And that movie's like 3 hours long, and people make that as like the greatest film ever made. But I think Watchmen, it works, and you need someone who is able to adapt and able to change things and able to move things around. Like, truly, I believe if it was a TV show, episode 1 should be all the comedian and Rorschach flashbacks and end with the comedian's death. And end with Rorschach saying, Rorschach's Journal, October 21st, 1985. The comedian died in New York. That's what I think should happen. And someone who isn't so loyal with it and realizing things need to change. And you know, for people who's like who want it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality, you have two versions. You have a 2009 version, and you have a animated version. I'm treating the two movies as one big thing. And that. But the funny thing, to end this off, the funny thing about this movie is that the line, now knowing what we know, if you read the comics, when Dr. Manhattan says, I'm leaving this galaxy, I'm leaving this universe, I might create some children I might create some children that we know, we're all going to be like, yeah, we all know where you're heading because of Doomsday Clock. Dr. Manhattan, you're heading to the DC universe. You're going to be creating several DC universes. You're basically God in the DC universe. You're going to make everyone happy and lucky, except this one doing a bad suit, but everyone's going to be happy and lucky. They're your children.